Hi Paula, how are you?
Hi Alison, I'm great, thank you, and thank you for having me on your video today.
That's great. No, thank you. So today we're chatting to Paula of Polly Bloom Coaching. She's been in the Hug Directory now for, I think maybe coming up for 2 years now, I think. It's been some time.
You're right, yes.
Yeah. So we've seen you flourishing as a divorce coach and going from strength to strength with your social media and all the rest of it, which is great to see. So helping out more and more people. So today I really want to focus on your experiences of people who are getting divorced or separated relationships, and co-parenting. Do you have a lot of people coming to you with co-parenting issues?
Yes, I do. Funny enough, recently I have a young mum, and she was telling me that she was a little bit unhappy because her partner's moved on, got a new girlfriend, and he's already introduced her sons to her, which she'd asked him not to because she felt it was too soon. It's not been that long since they split up, but he completely ignored what she'd asked. He took them off for the day, and that's hard. That's extremely painful for a mother to have some other woman come into their life, and they're away from you. You don't know what's going on whilst they're away, what's being said, and like all of us, our minds start second guessing what's being said, and it's not normally very favourable what we second guess.
No, and it's even difficult without children when you know a partner's moved on. I mean, there's been quite a few people in the press just recently, hasn't there? Famous people where partners moved on, and they've got remarried really quickly. Jamie Redknapp's one, isn't he? Isn't his
yes, I saw that recently. Yes.
Yeah, it must be really difficult for ex-wife, and so we hear, very excited, that you've written a book to help children through this sort of situation where mum and dad have split up. So how did that come about?
I going through, being a divorce coach, obviously I'm speaking to parents all the time. And before I became a divorce coach, before I went through my own divorce, I was a learning mentor in a primary school. And as a learning mentor, I would work with children with special educational needs and children with autism, dyslexia. I worked with one little girl with Down syndrome. But also, what was important is that children are great learners. They're good learners if they're happy. And the head teacher at the school was really pro making sure that children were happy. So my role was to be there for the children to come and talk to. So I built up a rapport with the children and trust. And also I was there at the end of lunchtime break when they'd all fallen out, the girls and the boys. And so I'd have them all round a table, and we'd all talk about, how they could get along better, etc., etc. And one thing that did become apparent to me was with speaking with children that parents were either at the beginning of a divorce, or there was domestic abuse, or they'd actually were divorced, was that the children were left feeling that they had nowhere to go. I had one little boy, and through drawing, it became apparent that he wasn't happy because he seemed to spend all his life in the car. And he actually, how children draw like little box cars. So he drew one car, and in that car was with his mum and his brother, and then in another car it was with his dad and his brother and the dad's new girlfriend. And so from those drawings, he just said, all I seem to do is spend my time going back and forth between mummy and daddy. And I realised that there wasn't a lot of literature. There wasn't a book in the library that a child could pick up where they could go, oh, you know, this happens a lot. This happens to so many people, and it's okay to feel the way I feel. I mean, it's bad enough as adults we go through the grief of a breakup and divorce, and as even as adults we sometimes find it difficult to comprehend our emotions. You know, it's overwhelm, and we just don't know which one to deal with first. And but because we're adults, we understand the situation, whereas children, they're left in the dark a little bit. They may not even understand what the word divorce means. You know, it's just, oh, well, daddy and mummy are splitting up, we're going to get a divorce. And it's like, well, what does that actually mean? So Keep on Swimming, Freddie, the book that I've written, is for children from the ages of, I think it says on when the details of the book, 6 to 12, but you know, 4-year-olds, mum and dad can sit and read the book to the children. And also in the book it has activities, so that children can, one of the activities is, where do you feel the sadness? Where do you feel it in your body? And so that gives them a chance to colour in, you know, the body, you know, it's in here, or it's in their tummy, and explaining that is actually perfectly normal, but it's important to talk. And so many parents are, you know, are so engrossed in their own divorce situation, their own battle, that they overlook the children. And because the child goes off to school, they think, oh, they're all right. But you know, a lot of parents will then get the teachers phoning saying, oh, your child's being disruptive. And I remember one little boy at the school I worked at, his parents split up. He couldn't cope. He really couldn't cope. And he felt like he'd become the father of the house for his mother. He's very protective of that. But he had nowhere to go with it. So what he did was he wrecked the classroom, and we had to get all the children out of the classroom because he actually tipped tables up. Now an outsider looking in would just say, what a really naughty boy, but it was because he was troubled and he had nowhere to go with it, and he didn't have very good role models as parents. So it's sad, because that child, this will impact that child into his adult life. And unless something is done early, for him to have a space to go to, and to talk about all his feelings, and understanding the situation, and that it's not his fault. Because a lot of children will actually think, maybe it's my fault mummy and daddy are split up because of some things that said, you know, they didn't tidy their toys away. You know, children, they take what they hear and see, they're like sponges, and they take it all in, and carry the burden. And also as parents, we don't know what to say, so it's really good to have a book, to especially something with some activities as well, because it's all a whole new ball game, isn't it? We don't know what to say to the children, you know. Like you say, we're so caught up in our own emotions as well. And you know, Alison, my girls weren't little when I split from my husband. They were early 20s, and I remember being so consumed, you know, with my grief and shock and etc. And I, as I say, was so consumed that I didn't really register what they were feeling. And I've spoken to them since and said, you know, I'm really sorry. I was so wrapped up in myself that I didn't even take into account the impact and effect it was having on them. I mean, they're fine. They're strong women, but you know, but they've suffered with anxiety, and I firmly believe it's because of the situation that arose. Because before that, they weren't as anxious as they've turned out to be. So
Yeah.
But they, you know, and I said to you earlier, didn't I, that there is an assumption, which is wrong, that because children are older, oh, it's okay, you know, it's not going to affect them so much because they're older. But actually, they understand, and depending on the circumstances, if there is adultery involved, then they have to try and understand that
and digest it,
and how their parent could do that, or why. And so, you know, there are a lot of people that stay in relationships because they're afraid that if they break up, the children would be dysfunctional. But actually, isn't it worse to see that parents are unhappy and arguing all the time? Isn't that dysfunctional, to grow up in an environment where people are at each other's throats all the time and miserable and unhappy and have no self-worth, etc.?
Yeah.
You know, I think it's and this has only come about because of what I do, because of going through it myself, because I was one of those people that thought, you know, you need to keep your family unit together because the effects on the children will be devastating. But it's not necessarily true, depending on the way you handle the situation and you co-parent, and your exceptional role models to your children.
Yeah. So where can people get hold of your book, Paula?
Well, at the moment it's on Amazon. So they can buy it off of Amazon. It's just at the moment it's just filtering through. It's a bit slow, but you can pre-order it, and hopefully, because it's early days, it will be going into bookstores. I'm talking to schools. I've spoken to Resolution, at the Law Society Resolution. So it's getting the word out that there is this is a simple tool, a simple aid, just to be able to sit down and read the story to your children, and they can ask you questions. It's like an opener.
Oh, brilliant. Well, we'll put a link in the information here to show where you can get the book. We'll add a link in. But that sounds superb, and hopefully it will do really, really well. So yeah, great advice today, Paula, on, you know, co-parenting and really, like you say, really about how to open the conversation with your children. I think that's probably half the battle, isn't it? Just opening the conversation. Where do you start? And once you do start, it becomes a bit more comfortable to talk about that. So that's great. Thank you.
And you know, what you're doing, Alison, in the group hug is fabulous.
Thank you.
So thank you for having me.